Hello, my name is Frank Sutton, and I have been invited here today to talk to you guys about the most efficient ways to achieving the three main steps: pre-production, production, and post-production to producing a rock and roll band. The first step in the production stage is the pre-production. During pre-production, there's a couple stages that are very important that will ensure the flow of the sessions when it comes time to actually get into the production part. So during pre-production, one of the first main important things that we want to do is song selection. During song selection, the producer will sit with the band and he'll go over the songs that they have written. Now a lot of times bands write more songs than they will put on the record, so if there's 10 songs on an album, sometimes the band might write up to 20 songs for an album. During the song selection process, it's up to the producer to sit down with the band and really choose what 10 songs work best for that represent the band and will work best for the album. The writing of the songs is a very important stage, so the selection of those songs really will affect what the band is trying to say when the album is released. So song selection is a very important part of the process of production, and you certainly don't want to go into the studio not knowing what songs you're going to be recording. So song selection will be the first stage of pre-production, and it involves the producer sitting with the band, not in the studio environment, usually in the band's rehearsal place or a setting like that where it's comfortable for everybody and they can go through and really work out the songs and find out what songs want to be chosen for the record. A lot of times during this stage of before the band finish choosing what songs they want to do, you will want to go through and finalize some of the songs for the band. And what I mean by that is, as a producer, you're responsible for choosing, not only helping them get the songs that they want to do, but arranging them the way they need to be done. Like there might be a solo missing, or the solo might be too long on a certain song, and the producer with the outside perspective and fresh ears might hear that and tell the band that it might need to be shortened down here, or maybe the second verse on this one particular song is maybe a little too long, or adding a bridge, the third part to a song, the third section, or even adding or subtracting a solo from certain songs. All these are things that the producer goes through and does with the band, and it's a very important process. It's a very important stage that has to be done. The next step in the production stage, the pre-production stage, once the song selection has been selected and you've gone through the songs with the band and you've narrowed them down and pretty much worked the songs out where everybody, the producer and the band, is happy with them, it's time to rehearse the songs. There's a few important things to do when you're rehearsing. You want to be ready for the studio. When it comes time to go into the studio and actually getting to the production phase of it, you want to have the songs what we call tight. You want the band to be able to know what they're playing, every member knows what they're playing, and you want to be able to go into the studio and really knock out the parts that you want to do. This saves money, and it's very important for the producer to know how much money that the band is budgeted and how much the band is working with, because you want to be able to complete the album in time. If the album isn't completed in time, it's a good chance as a producer that you won't get hired by that record company in the future to work with future artists, and that's money out of the producer's pocket. So it's very important for the producer to know how much money the band has allotted for their album and where they stand as far as getting the album completed on time. And rehearsal is a big part of that, because when the band can get tight and the band can knows what they're doing, and when they go into the studio, they can knock out their parts pretty well, and this in the long run will save a good deal of money, because it'll be less days spent actually recording the record. So not only good for the songs to be rehearsed, but it's just good all around for the band to be rehearsed, and that's I really can't stress this enough. It's a good rule of thumb to spend about 2 weeks once the songs have been selected and you've gone through them with a fine-tooth comb and you've selected what needs to be done to each song. When it comes time to actually rehearse, spending 2 weeks with the band just rehearsing, letting them do what they do and working out the songs top from bottom so they know how to everybody knows the parts and know how to play them, will really benefit everybody, not just the accountants, but it'll benefit the artists and the band members and their peace of mind, because everyone will know what they're doing when they get to the studio. It's a very big step, the rehearsal part is. And that will lead us into the next stage. As the producer, you will be in charge of booking the studio time. So when the band is ready and after the rehearsal time, it's time to move into the second stage of the production process, which is the actual production. So in the production stage, the producer will book a studio that can accommodate the band. You would want to do a room fairly large where most of the members can set up in the room at the same time and play together in the same room. The first step you really want to do is, once you've booked a sufficient enough size room, you want to have everybody record the rhythm tracks. You want to have everybody playing in the same room, the drummer, the bass player, and one rhythm guitar player or a piano player, whatever the main rhythm instrument is. And sometimes even the singer can go in another room and do scratch vocals or reference vocals, singing along with the other musicians in their headphones, so they have, they can follow the song and have some semblance of where they're going. It's nice playing a song when you can hear the vocals, as it is playing a song when you don't hear the vocals. So that's the first step, is really in the production, is booking the studio and then getting the members in the room, setting them up so they can all look at each other. When you play in the same room, it's nice to have eye contact. Bands are used to playing obviously next to each other and in the same room, so you want them to maintain the eye contact during this phase. It's good for communication during the songs while they're recording. And another good thing about when you record everybody in the same room, there's a thing called like bleeding or leakage. It's when sound bleeds into the other microphones, and bleedage can be a good thing and a bad thing. It can be a good thing when it's used properly, and if it's too much bleeding or leakage, it can ruin a track or a performance. So what I mean by this, by example, is, say I'm sitting behind a drum kit right here, drum kit in front of me. Drums are quite loud, as we all know. Guitar player sets up 10 feet to my left with a pretty loud guitar amp. If the guitar player plays at a reasonable level, that sound is going to leak into the microphones that surround this drum kit. When that happens, you're going to get a lot of guitar sound in your drum tracks, and this can be, like I said, good and bad. Too much of that guitar sound can ruin the drum tracks, but a little bit of it can add nice ambience and atmosphere, make the guitar sound bigger, and make, when the drums bleed into the guitar mics, make the drums sound a little bit bigger, and that adds atmosphere. And a lot of the old records for decades were done with bands in the same room, so it has a certain sound. For instance, a great instance of that sound would be the Motown records, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard throughout your lives. The Motown records are classic of setting up in a small room and having 10, 12, 15 guys playing all together at the same time. There's going to be sound bleeding all over into all the other microphones, but it adds a certain aesthetic, and it's a really good approach, technique to be able to use to your advantage. Ways that we control bleeding and leakage is by putting baffles, large, we call them gobos, maybe 4 feet by 5 feet high, about 10 inches thick, with acoustic padding and stuff on each side. If you place one next to the drums and say one next to that guitar amp there, like we were talking about, you'll really minimalize the bleeding and the leakage by a great deal, and this will considerably control any problems that you may have, and any leakage and bleeding will be a good thing at that point by using gobos and stuff. The next stage, after you record the rhythm tracks, which, like I said, is bass, drums, and your rhythm guitar, it's time to add the rest of your instruments and vocals. So once the bass and drums and the rhythm tracks are complete, you'll want to put more of the other guitar player's parts, or the guitar solo, or any little, as we would say, ear candy, which is little things to fill out the sound that the band necessarily won't play when there's 5 or 6 of them standing on stage, but it'll fill it out. It'll fill out the sound and make it more pleasing to the ear when you're listening to the album. And sometimes this comes down to the producer actually playing instruments on the records. For instance, if there isn't a keyboard player in the band, but the band hears an organ part or a piano part on a certain song and they don't know how to play it, a lot of producers are fairly skilled musicians at a few different instruments. So as a producer, you may be expected to sit in and play a piano part on this or that, or play an organ part. But it's okay if you can't play that part, can't play the piano, because you will be asked to call somebody that can. And as a producer, you will know contacts and have people of former bands and whatnot. And the band that you're working with might ask you, do you know somebody that can play a piano or an organ on this? And it will be up to the producer to get that missing piece down to the studio. And but that's really, that just has to all go with the production and making the band happy and everything. Then after you record the rest of the instruments, it's time to record the vocals parts. This can be done with just the lead singer and the engineer and you, the producer, or the rest of the band can be there, which I like to do as a producer because it shows unity of the band members. It provides positive feedback. When the singer is singing his vocal part, he may ask his bandmates, how did that sound? What should I do? And feedback is good. But as a producer, you want to control some of that, everybody putting their input in, because as the old saying goes, too many chefs in the kitchen is a bad thing. And you don't want to have everybody telling the artist what to do. He will lose direction himself and focus. So as a producer, it's good to keep control on these things, and part of that is doing it diplomatically and being a people person. And as a producer, you will find yourself constantly keeping the peace when you're dealing with a democracy. You will be the mediator, and it's good to be a people person and smile and know what the artists like and what they don't like, and to make them happy. And at the end of the session, you want everyone to leave happy and fulfilled. And sometimes you have to go to different lengths and measures to make that happen. And it's a trait that comes easily to some and not to others, but it's one that we all have to deal with at some point. You're the level head. As the producer in the session, you are the level head, and you are the voice of reason, really. So you have to keep everybody calm. And then the final stage of this the production part, the actually recording of the record, is the mixing. And what I mean by mixing, as you guys are all in school, I don't know if you've gotten to that stage yet. It's when you're finished recording the album, everything's recorded, all the different pieces on all the tracks, putting all those pieces together, laying them all out. How loud is the kick drum? How loud is the snare drum? How loud is the bass guitar? The lead vocals have enough reverb on them? Do they need to come down a little bit in volume here and up a little bit in volume there? That all has to involves mixing. Each individual song gets mixed, which you can take 8 to 10 hours to mix a song, one full day. So you want to take breaks every 45 minutes, 10-15 minute breaks to rest your ears to make sure you're comfortable with finishing the song a day, because like I said, it comes down to money again too, and you want to get it done quick. You don't want to labor too long, because the band has to pay that money back. So you want to come in and get it finished on time and on budget, but you also want to do a good product. After the mixing's all done, you have all your mixes of all your songs, all 10 songs. Then it's time to take them into the post-production phase of the recording process. And during the post-production phase, there's really only a few things that really need to be done, all of them important though. The first thing you will want to do is master the records. And in mastering, you find a good mastering engineer or a good reputable mastering studio. There's a couple in New York and Los Angeles, and you take your mixes to them, and it takes about a day to master the records. But you would, as a producer, and if the band does or doesn't want to go, but as the producer, you will want to be there with the mastering engineer and make sure that everything's tweaked out right. We'll add a little more compression and a little more EQ, and basically raise all the level volume-wise of your mixes. So everything, when it's played on the radio, everything's at the same level. You don't have songs that are 5 decibels louder or 5 decibels lower than other songs. Everything will be played at the same level. That's what mastering really does, and that's the biggest step in the post-production stage. The next thing you'll want to do in the post-production stage, after all the songs are mastered, your songs are finished at this point, certain singles and stuff like that might have to be shortened down. If you ever see something called like a radio edit on certain singles, or if you've listened to a song on the radio that you've liked and then you've bought the album and then you heard the song that you heard on the radio but it's longer, that's because it had to be shortened down to be played on the radio. Well, this is when it is time to do that in the post-production stage after the song is mastered. If you have a song that you as the artist and the record company and the producer all agree that this one song is the single but it's 5 minutes long, it might need to be shortened to 4 minutes or 3 minutes and 45 seconds. This is when that would be done, and it might be a matter of taking off an extra chorus at the end or shortening a solo or a bridge. That would all be done at this stage in the post-production stage. And then after that's done, that leads us into the final stage, is arranging your album. And this is a fun part. This is when you take all of the mixes, everything, your mastered mixes, and everything that's been done, all 10 of your songs. You can put them into the computer, and you can you'll place them back to back. Which song you want to start the record, which song you want to go second and third, and so forth, and what song you want to end the record. And this can be fun to do. And a lot of times bands, as the producer, you give them preference on a lot of things. You want to make them happy. They might want to put chatter or little atmospheric things between the songs with them talking in the studio, or little snippets of sound, or even little instruments added in there, segues between the songs to make the songs maybe gel a little better. So it's not just this song ends, 2 seconds of quietness, and then the next song starts. A lot of bands like to mix it up to make a nice cohesiveness to the album. Like I said, it gives that nice atmosphere to it. And then you're finished after that. After your album assembly, you're ready to give as the producer, you're ready to give the record to the record label and have them release it and distribute it. And hopefully it will sell 1 million copies, and you will make more royalties on that. But I want to thank you very much for listening to me today. And I hope we've covered in depth the details of recording the 3 main steps: pre-production, production, and post-production to recording a rock band. And I thank you for your time, and I hope you all have enjoyed yourself, and I look forward to seeing and working with you in the field. Thank you very much.